Donald Trump's Jeffrey Epstein scandal is ripping MAGA world apart, and the only one dealing with more pain and blowback from it all than Donald Trump is Pam Bondi, because Donald Trump has decided to kind of make her the beating post, because those in the MAGA movement who are still clinging on to their cult mentality see this as Pam Bondi's fault and not the fault of Donald Trump, who made and broke the promise and was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein. But Pam Bondi has been getting torched by MAGA all week, but now she is facing the music to her face, reporters confronting her over her lies. She completely imploded, struggled to speak, and humiliated Trump at a disaster press conference that we're getting into. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button, because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into what Pam Bondi had to say at her presser today, I want to start with why she was so uncomfortable speaking, and it's from the boos she got from MAGA.
People have been promised a payoff for many years on this one. So now President Trump and his top aides are engulfed by the very kind of conspiracy theory that they spent so many years promoting, apparently without a lot of forethought about how it would land if they were in charge again. And we're seeing calls for a so-called accountability for their own leaders who claimed one thing and then did the opposite. If you want to fact check Pam Bondi's claim that she had the Epstein client list on her desk, which is one of those very literal statements. It's not like someday we'll get accountability or we'll learn more. It's, I have this well-described client list from this now deceased sex trafficker on my desk, she said. And that wasn't true. And the fact check in this case for that is in the memo her office released on behalf of the entire Justice Department. So you can see how, whether or not you see this as partly a runaway conspiracy theory or content farming debacle, it also involves whether government officials are telling the truth. And on this one, there appears to be an overlap between the test that journalists and independent accountability professionals and inspectors general tend to apply and what the MAGA faithful want. What you heard there, answer the question, are you telling the truth? And should there be accountability for that? Now, the conference you saw those clips from is from a normally pro-Trump group, Turning Points USA. And you saw the big names, Ingram, Kelly, Tucker Carlson, a lot of Fox veterans, Steve Bannon, who still has a very active relationship inside this administration, warning them that they must change course, that this cannot just be quieted down or covered up, to use the sinister version of how so much of this story on Epstein has played out over the years. Now, Trump's DOJ famously basically said, no, nothing more to see here, no more information or evidence to be given, and the questions they had very loudly pushed were now not going to be answered with the memo I mentioned.
In the same way that Dan Bongino and Kash Patel have realized that the only way they can preserve their careers is going all in on this Epstein story, making sure they're making good with MAGA, Pam Bondi also to an extent understands that as well. It's the reason that, as we're about to see in this press conference, she was trying to pick her words very carefully and really, more than anything, unable to speak and deflecting when reporters were asking her about the Epstein scandal. And that started with the scandal inside the White House, and that's Dan Bongino's relationship with Pam right here.
Yes, go ahead.
I wanted to follow up on that question. I think the American people have a lot of questions about your relationship with the Deputy FBI Director. Do you believe that he should stay in his role?
I'm not going to discuss personnel matters. I think we all are committed to working together now to make America safe again, and that's what we're doing. Only on topic, guys. Go ahead.
This is how a lot of the press conference went, as you would expect. The clip we're about to check out had a little bit more implosion from Pam Bondi, just whining and complaining. But the fact that the administration that claims it is the most transparent in history can't answer a question about whether the deputy director of the FBI and the attorney general are on speaking terms, if they're not at each other's throats, if their staffs aren't leaking about the other person, is horrifying. This is the administration that said it was going to crack down on crime, which is actually something Pam Bondi got confronted over a little bit later. But first, let's check out her first Epstein response.
Question for the Attorney General in response to questions, comments that President Trump made a short time ago, just a few moments ago on the South Line. He said that he would support you releasing additional credible evidence from the Epstein investigation. Is that something that you are open to doing? He said this just a few moments ago.
Let me take that first. This today is about fentanyl. This is about a wall of people right outside this room who have died from, I appreciate your question, but this today is about fentanyl overdoses throughout our country and people who have lost loved ones to fentanyl. That's the message that we're here to send today. Nothing about Epstein. I'm not going to talk about Epstein. Go ahead.
Oh, so we're not talking about it now? Pam, now it's off topic? Because before it's all you wanted to talk about. It's what Donald Trump was campaigning on. I thought we were going against the deep state. You said you were going to the DOJ to clean it up, to clean up the swamp, to get the muck out of Washington. Is that not what you were doing, Pam? Is that too off topic for you? The countless civil servants you fired, cleaning up the swamp, draining it, and now you don't want to talk about it, huh? I wonder why. And it didn't stop there. She just kept whining.
Our memo speaks for itself, and we'll get back to you on anything else. I haven't seen all of his statements today. We're going to fight to keep America safe again, and we're fighting together as a team. That's what's so important right now. You know, we've got a war on drugs. We've got a war on human trafficking. We've got cartels in this country, and we are going to do, we've got foreign adversaries around this world as well. And we're all going to work together as a team to fight to keep America safe again. And I can tell you that's what we're all committed to.
Obviously, this is a deflection from Pam Bondi saying, oh, won't we think of the children? Won't we think of the drugs on the street? But it's only made worse by a question a reporter immediately asked her about cuts Donald Trump made that make it more difficult to get crime off the street.
Thank you.
How can you keep America safe again when the president's budget for 2026 cuts DEA by $212 million and the FBI by $500 million? Do you support those cuts? Do you think they will harm your capacity to fight crime?
Well, it won't. That's a great question. It won't harm our capacity to fight. I'll tell you that. We can always do more with more, but we can do more with less, and that's what we're committed to doing. The big, beautiful bill also adds a tremendous amount for us in combating especially the drug crisis, billions of dollars, I believe.
I think it's
yeah, let me see, $3.3 billion in the big, beautiful bill to combat drug trafficking, support the prosecution of immigration matters, and gang-related crimes. So that crosses all agencies as well. So that bill will greatly help us as well, in addition to the budget. We also have a $3.5 billion reimbursement fund for state and local agencies that are enforcing the Immigration Act, drug and human trafficking laws. And human trafficking is also something we're not talking about today, but is very, very important to us. Yes, there are billions of additional dollars in addition to the original budget. So that was a great question. Thank you.
So what is it, Pam? Do you care or not? Is there a list or not? Is Donald Trump on it or not? Did Obama write it or not? Is Clinton, is Comey, I don't know. They don't know. That's the point. They want to muck it up. They want us confused. But what we're not confused on is how clear this story is. Trump and Epstein, buddies for a decade. Probably longer, actually, in fact. And they shared some friends, didn't they? Because they pretty explicitly said that. What is Donald Trump doing? He's protecting Epstein. He's protecting his clients. He's protecting himself. Because when you're a billionaire, you want to look out for your other crooked billionaire buddies. That's what's happening right now. That's what's been happening. And we got to continue to call it out. And someone who did so and is getting under Donald Trump's skin because of it is Jasmine Crockett right here.
Over the past 6 months, we've seen hearing after hearing do nothing but attack nonprofits, as well as those who are just generally on a mission to serve, protect, and uplift vulnerable communities. In just my own committees, this has got to be the second or third time I've had to sit through the same tired narrative. If my Republican colleagues are truly concerned about taxpayer dollars being misused for political agendas, I'd encourage them to take a long, hard look in the mirror. But since we're here again, spending more of the American people's money and time on political theater, let's at least stick to the facts. Fact. Under the Trump administration, the Department of Justice stripped hundreds of millions of dollars from the Office of Justice programs, money that funded essential community safety initiatives like victim services, gang prevention, and reentry support. Fact, Trump and Republicans slashed grants to organizations like the National Organization for Victim Assistance, which trains advocates who staff domestic violence shelters, hotlines, and rape crisis centers. Fact, they cut over $10 million in funding to the National Policing Institute, a nonprofit helping rural police departments reduce violent crime. Fact, this week, Republicans are trying to gut PEPFAR, a life-saving program that partners with nonprofits around the world and has saved more than 26 million lives. And let's not forget, many of these cuts were laid out in Project 2025, a radical far-right playbook drafted by hyper-conservative nonprofits for the express purpose of dismantling the very government institutions and systems that serve the public good. Ironically, we even have one of the authors of Project 2025 here with us today. So let's not pretend this is about nonprofit accountability, because if it were, this committee would also be investigating the Conservative Partnership Institute, which has pushed anti-immigrant, anti-LGBTQ+, and anti-vaccine propaganda and hosted efforts to challenge the 2020 election. Mind you, as we have these organizations that are pushing anti-vaccine propaganda, we know that measles has reached a 30-year high when measles had actually been over and done with. But now that we don't believe in vaccines, now children are our targets, unfortunately, and yes, they are dying. The New Century Foundation, a white nationalist organization that somehow maintains its 501c3 status to launder hate speech through the language of intellectual inquiry. Or they would investigate Turning Point USA, which has been linked to organizers of the January 6th insurrection. But Republicans aren't talking about those groups because this isn't about accountability. It's about silencing organizations that challenge Republican power. It's about targeting nonprofits that protect the very people this Trump-aligned movement continues to harm. These organizations are defending victims of unlawful actions. They're helping to combat global pandemics. They're supporting police departments when this very committee won't. They're working to build safer, healthier communities while Trump and his allies defund them to hand out tax breaks to billionaires. And maybe that's the real threat here. They're effective. They get people off the streets, out of prison, and into opportunity. They educate people about injustice, and that apparently scares some folks more than any so-called radical agenda. Because the only thing truly radical about these nonprofits is their belief that human beings deserve dignity, opportunity, and equal protection under the law. Values my Republican colleagues seem to have forgotten, along with love thy neighbor. So instead of demonizing the groups trying to do right by our communities, maybe we should be asking how to support them, how to ensure taxpayer dollars reach the people who need them most, because this hearing should be about public safety, not political vendettas.
There is getting under Donald Trump's skin, and then there is living rent-free in his head. Jasmine Crockett certainly does that. Oh boy, it's so nice. We're going to keep covering it, talking about it, and try to get under Donald Trump's skin and in his head as well. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.